Jake Paul, Nate Diaz. It's tomorrow.
Yes.
If you're seeing this, tomorrow. So, what are your just initial thoughts? Just let them out.
Initial thoughts. I will put everything I own on Jake Paul winning, and I said this a while ago with you and Matt, and I got very, 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 pummeled by him because he's a big MMA guy. So
he's just a big guy.
To be fair, he's very big.
Not in a good way either.
I don't think we need to elaborate more.
No.
My initial thoughts is I would put, if I was forced to, I'd put everything I own on Jake Paul winning. I don't see a route to Nate Diaz winning the fight really, unless he manages to knock Jake Paul out. But I don't know if he has knockout power.
I don't see it being a knockout. I think if Nate Diaz wins, I think it goes the distance, and I think Nate Diaz gets it on a decision.
Yeah, I'd probably, before I give my final prediction anyway. What are your thoughts about Jake Paul? Like, given that he's changed his coaching team, what Jake Paul are you expecting for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping some things or changes that I'm hoping for is perhaps like the way he starts his fights. I think
Definitely.
he starts his fights very slow. We see it against Tommy, Anderson Silva, and who else was it? Woodley. They were all knockouts quite late in the fight.
Very late, yeah.
And I think it takes him a while to find his feet in there, and I think Nate Diaz has the same problem quite often. But I think Nate Diaz will find it easier.
Yeah.
Getting into that quickly. So I think if Jake Paul, has got that down in his new camp, I think he could be dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I am confident that Jake Paul is going to win, I don't think it will be by knockout by any means. And as much as he likes to knock out guys late in fights, Nate Diaz has a gas tank. And Nate Diaz has a chin. Those are the two things. Because I'm not. I can't say I've watched a full fight of him in the UFC, but from what I've heard, and from what I can sort of figure out.
I mean, he has got a really solid chin. I mean, just looking at if you look at the pictures of him after his win against McGregor, it was a win, and he still looks like he's been absolutely battered.
Beaten.
He is a warrior.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely think he could be Jake Paul's toughest test.
Yeah.
Bar obviously, I guess Tommy Fury. I think he could be his biggest challenge, and I think it still could be a really good fight. And Nate Diaz is sort of freakish stamina. I think he can, and he showed that in 5-round fights. And I think he looks raring to go sometimes at the end of a 5-rounder. Not 5-round, sorry, a 3-round. I don't think he hasn't fought many 5-round fights this year. I don't think.
No, yeah.
He's never actually won a title in the UFC, so I don't know why I said that. But yeah, I mean, if you can show that in 3 rounds, I think this is a 10-round fight.
10-round fight. Yeah.
So I think he could go the 10 rounds to minutes if he's not getting if it's a similar scenario where Jake Paul isn't starting incredible.
Yeah.
I think Nate Diaz will fly through those rounds, and that's where it'll start becoming more of a fight in the 6, 7, 8, 9th.
Yeah.
So on,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we said earlier, that's where Jake Paul seems to knock down or knock out the guys he's faced, but I just don't see that happening with someone like Nate Diaz. So I don't
really think the Tommy Fury one was really a knockout, but a knockdown.
Really.
But it shows that he comes into the fight towards the end of it, or later on. Yeah.
And they will, as much as they will be hoping to change that, I do see Jake Paul still being able to go into the later rounds against someone like Nate Diaz and hold his own. So I agree with you. It probably is going to be his toughest test, and the toughest guy he's faced, literally toughness. Like he is literally the toughest guy he will face. But I just don't see a route to Nate Diaz winning because it is very different. Because people say he boxes in MMA, like he has a very standing up and boxing.
He uses
MMA,
his hands a lot, But it was never that knockout power punch. A lot of it was it's always volume, and he's constantly. It's a way a lot of people lost was just being simply overwhelmed with the strikes, and that's why he's had a lot of stoppages as well.
Yeah. And what I've tried to explain to Matt, which he didn't seem to want to accept, so I could just be completely wrong, is that boxing in MMA is very, very different to boxing in boxing, because boxing in MMA you can sort of afford to leave your hands down more. Throw a couple more looping shots. You want to throw in volume. Stuff like that. In boxing, it needs to be tight. You need to hit people clinically. It needs to be technical.
It's more technical, and it is more. It's more like tight. Like there's more fluidity, and there's more to obviously defend as well. Like in MMA and stuff, you're keeping your hands down not only just because it's more free, but you are also waiting for a takedown, maybe taking a leg kick, body. I mean, obviously body shot in MMA. But, I mean boxing, but
Yeah, and I think in MMA as well, it's a lot more about sort of distance management because you're trying to keep away from kicks, so you sort of
there's
have
much
to,
more
lean
there's
in
much
with
more
your
fluid
punches.
movements in MMA.
Yeah.
And there's also you're just more open to what you can do with your hands and feet as well.
Yeah, exactly. But in boxing, it's very limited. You have to be tight, and that's why I think if Nate Diaz doesn't have, knockout power in MMA,
And we do see as well, he is one of those fighters as well. He's very fluid, very sort of, well, we know how long he is. He's a very
long,
octopusy kind of
yes.
bloke.
Yes.
And it's that could be a problem for him, especially with Jake being a guy who sort of feeds for that that catching with one shot.
Yeah.
And obviously that's going to be the game plan with most of these with these kind of fights like Tommy Fury, KSI, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're all going to be sort of just getting that, if he can get the big shot.
Yeah. Look for that one big shot.
Because he's not going to I don't think Jake Paul is going to outbox Nate Diaz. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be a case of that.
No, but
even if he wins by decision, I don't know if we'll be able to call it an outboxing. I'll have to wait to see. But I don't think so.
I would say though, I think it's more likely that Jake Paul outboxes Nate Diaz than the other way around. I can't see Nate Diaz.
No, I don't see him outboxing. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Not outboxing. I think maybe a different type of outboxing, as we were saying, with like how he won his UFC fights, where it's just an overwhelming of strikes and constant pressure.
Combinations,
and he's not running out of stamina. But I don't think it's an outboxing in a sense of just like for example, like Anthony Taylor, Salt Papi. That was just outbox, outclass. He showed why they weren't on the same level in that specific sport.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas I think even if Nate Diaz does lose to Jake by decision and it's outboxing, I don't know if it's like the same sort of. I don't think Jake's never going to show he's a completely different level to Nate Diaz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, in the same way AT did with Salt Papi. I don't think that would ever be the scenario.
No, definitely not. And I think it is also how Nate Diaz reacts when he gets caught with that first clean Jake Paul overhand. If he gets rocked by it, and I don't think that'll happen with Nate Diaz. No. It's
not
trouble.
in the big gloves as well. Cause I assume it's 10-ounce gloves, right?
Something like that.
Nate Diaz is used to getting cracked in the 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
It is
so
different.
If he gets caught with that and just isn't faced, which I'm assuming is what's going to happen, Jake Paul's going to find it really tough to put him out, and that's why I just think he's not going to be
even on the mental side, I think that is really demoralising because Nate Diaz is one of those fighters where he gets hit, and as we were saying about the end of the Conor McGregor fight. He's covered in blood, and his face is quite prone to just bleed, to be honest. But like whenever he's covered in blood and he looks like he does not give a fuck, and he's smiling and he's doing the Diaz fucking flip, the bird, the flip bird, and the
birds.
They got he does like this Stockton slap and shit. He's always that kind of guy who's just like taking the piss and having a joke about it. Even though he is getting his face smashed in.
Well, I mean, we've spoken about the physical side quite a lot, and you mentioned there the mental side. The mind games have sort of already started with Nate Diaz.
Yeah, not showing up. Well, he walked out of the face-to-face yesterday.
Yeah, just belittling Jake Paul.
He just doesn't have time for it, does he?
He doesn't have time. He just wants to get in there, show what he can do.
It must be quite annoying for Jake Paul, especially on the promotion side of things, not only just the compliance. It must be a bit annoying, but I mean... Nate Diaz is an MMA legend, you know what I mean? I don't think we can really... I mean, what are we going to say, really? It's Nate Diaz. Who gives a... He doesn't give a fuck.
Do you think there's going to be sort of... Jake Paul's going to come in there with, after the Tommy Fury loss, something to prove, and Nate Diaz maybe will be a lot more comfortable? Do you think... Do you see a way where Jake Paul sort of lets the moment get to him a little bit? Because he knows he has something to prove. He knows this is important, because if he loses this fight, the rematch with Tommy Fury might be gone.
Yeah. And even the fight with KSI, if KSI beats Tommy Fury, then that's gone as well.
I mean, it's also interesting because there's a lot of pressure on both guys, because arguably if Nate Diaz loses this fight, does he get another fight in the UFC?
Well, he's left the UFC, hasn't he?
No, yeah, but he said he wants to come back to the UFC.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So, like, is he going to be able to do that with a loss to Jake Paul? Do you know what I mean? Is he going to be able to come back?
I mean, they are saying that obviously the MMA offer is there for a second fight on PFL.
Yeah,
which I think would be. I don't think he should go back to the UFC either way, to be honest.
No,
like I think he was past it as it is. Not past it. Obviously, he's not past it.
Yeah,
but like
past it. Yeah.
I don't think there's any point returning. For example, like his last fight? I think his last fight was Tony Ferguson. He looked like he could still do a job, but I just think he's getting these kind of fights now. He could have another with Jake Paul, even if it is MMA. He's obviously going to destroy him.
I mean, he was in talks with Logan Paul as well. Maybe after Dylan Dennis,
talks
that's
with
Logan.
Logan. Yeah, exactly. Literally, I think there's
options for him in this space.
Exactly. So I think I don't think it's worth for him going back to the UFC. To be honest, he's not going to get a big fight in the UFC. Nowhere near like he is these kind of fights.
No.
So.
Well, if you had to, just to end off, final prediction before we watch the fight, we will be doing a review of it, obviously, when the result comes in. What do you think is going to happen?
I think Jake Paul's going to get the win, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be a knockout. I think it could be a split decision, something like that. I think a split decision. Jake Paul win. Yeah.
I'm going to go unanimous because I rate Jake Paul quite highly, and I think coming off the loss, he's going to have a lot to work on. He's more human, and we'll see a better boxer as opposed to someone who's going to let the pressure get to him. Well,
there's our predictions.
I guess we're going to see what actually does happen on the 5th of August.
Let us know what you think down below.
Please do, and please like and fucking subscribe. It's getting silly now.
Yeah.
It's getting absolutely silly.
Someone subscribe, please.
We have 200 views on the first episode, 19 subscribers.
Right.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong?
So, do you know what I mean?
10%.
You lot who've watched it, why don't you fucking...
10%. It's a button. Sign in a
button. Click it!
Press the button!
You
Press the button!
What the fuck?
Press it! It's there!
Press
There's
it!
a like button as well.
Press it!
Just
press the little bell as well.
Even if you're saying these two mugs do not know what they're
do you know
talking
what? I don't give a
about.
fuck. Just say something.
Comment anything.
Give us your opinions,
anything.
guys.
Just say, they're ugly.
Yep.
Say anything.
You know what? Don't say that. Just say
comment.
Just him.
Comment.
Wow.
Just say anything you want. All right. Just engage with us.
Engage.
Because if you're watching this, you've watched it.
Exactly. If you're here right now, you know what to do.
You know what you're doing.
Do you know what? Let's all put toast in the comments if you're here right now.
Toast. Fucking toast. You could have chosen anything related to fighting or anything to do with the video, and you chose toast.
Let's all put toast in the
Let's all put toast in the
comments.
comments.
Let's see you made
guys.
to the end.
And you'll get a like by us. You'll get a like.
We'll like your comment.
And you know how much people are begging for a Chatmen like. Oh, it's hot stuff, let me tell you. Like your mother's bum. See ya.
Bye-bye.